I'm Will Callahan. I'm a delivery manager at Croydon Council. I'm project lead for this project, and I'm joined by Finn Lewis, who's from one of our two suppliers, Agile Collective, and they're providing all the technical help to us for our project. You can follow along. Hi, Finn.
Just checking you can hear me. Yep.
Yep. And we're on Twitter at Local Gov Drupal, but I'll share some more project contacts at the end. The problem's really simple, and if you've been in the sort of local gov or central gov digital space for a while, you'll recognise this. How many publishing platforms or CMSs have you built? I reckon I've built about 7. And while the technology changes, the needs slightly change. My career, or a lot of my career, has largely been about rebuilding stuff, the stuff that I've done before, made it better each time, but essentially rebuilding what I've already done. And the councils that we've spoken to, we're all doing this. And the biggest problem is that, what certainly I've found, is the budget runs out before you get to the really good stuff. So the change that we really want to see, none of us are really able to afford properly. I found it in Brighton, I found it in Croydon and other places I've been. Whereas if rather than starting from scratch, start from a better starting point where some of the basics are done, we can spend more money on delivering the kind of change that we talked about this morning. It's basically a Bill Murray moment. My whole life is, I am Bill Murray. You know, it's Groundhog Day. I arrived at Croydon, can you build us a CMS? Oh, here we go again. It's the same stuff that we're grappling with over and over. Not as attractive as him. Anyway, the problem statement is really clear. We had this in Discovery and we've stuck with it throughout. As councils, how do we co-develop, share, maintain open source code? It happens to be Drupal in our case, but this is applicable across all the projects that we're talking about. We started off very small as well. There was Alec in Brighton, Miggle, and me, a few of my colleagues, but we've grown a great deal. And it's thanks to the sort of perseverance of all the people who've sort of put time into this. We've now got a technical group that Finn leads, and a product group that, you know, notionally I lead, but you know, these groups are interchangeable. We go to each other's meetings. We've got really good support from agencies like DXW, John Waterworth. We've got you know, good user research people. Sadly, Mira left the project last week, but you know, we wish her well. She's an amazing user researcher. Really good designers. You know, we're very talented. We're very fortunate to have all these talented people on board, and all these councils, and more getting in touch with us all the time. It's really growing as a movement, and that's heartening to see. You put this tweet up of mine earlier in the deck, and I added it about 5 minutes ago because this basically makes the point for us. We wouldn't have done this without Local Digital Declaration. It did have our back in the early days, and it continues to have our back now. You know, there's no way we wouldn't have been able to do this without it existing and the fund existing. And this was from a tweet a few weeks ago. It does feel like the future. I mean, Finn is delivery manager for the project. I think this particular session we had 3 agencies and 2 councils collaborating, freely giving their time. We're able to do so much more in the place that we're in. You know, we're not having to rely on 1 or 2 developers in councils. We've got many developers and so much more scope to do work. It's the future. What we've built, you can go and get this today and have a try if you like. So there's a homepage. There's a sort of services architecture, so landing pages, regular pages, and something called service status, which I'll show you a picture of in a second. There are ways of building basic content like guides and step-by-step. If you've ever looked at the Gov UK publisher, they're largely Gov UK formats. We've got directories, or you might call them finders, if you're from central government. Promotional style pages called campaigns. We've just built events, an MVP, Stephen at Agile Collective built in under a week that we're all going to use. We've got a default theme that happens to be based on the Croydon design work, but you can build your own, and a lot of the councils are. This quarter up to Christmas, we're adding news and HTML publication, so we'll have an answer to the sort of PDF challenge. We'll have a format that you can use instead of PDFs, and we're going to push that pretty hard. Here are some of the pictures of what it looks like. The service updates shot on the left-hand side, we built that during COVID. That's Croydon's response to COVID. And it's now in the distribution. You know, we inspired by TfL service status. How do we show people what's running right now? And we created that. Events is top right, and step by step is bottom right. It's all on GitHub. I think if you just do GitHub local gov Drupal, you'll get to it. Go and download it now. Tell us what you think. I'll hand over to Finn. Who'll tell us about some of the findings of our alpha. Finn.
Thanks very much. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. So yeah, alpha findings so far. We're just reaching the end of the alpha phase, which has been 10 sprints of solid development, and we're just wrapping that up with a survey that's still running, which I mentioned in a minute. So still some findings to bring to the table. But yeah, next slide.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
That's right. You're controlling. So yeah, our first finding is that the distribution, the Drupal distribution, as it's called, is now flexible enough to build on. This is a sort of case in point. Lambeth have just started building on it. Along with Croydon and BHCC sort of backporting their existing sites onto it. Bracknell started building, Westminster and RBKC have just starting to build on it now as well. Lambeth's site is planning to have something live in a few weeks and fully live by Christmas. So it's working already, which is great. It's still very much in an alpha phase, but it's working. This is, you know, in no small part due to the removal of dependencies and the componentization of the system. So people, you know, councils can install the system and just choose certain components of it if they don't want to have everything that comes out of the box. International people seem to be using it as well. This is a tweet from somebody in Spain who installed it and likes the look of it. So, you know, but this is, I guess, a nod to working in the open and the fact that it is open source. That means that eyes from all around the world can be on it, which is a great thing. If other people can make use of it or collaborate, then that's obviously a good thing. And, you know, along with the local digital declaration. Second finding is that we need to identify where our requirements align, but also where they diverge. We've got an open roadmap, so that's great for looking at new features coming in and where we can align with new requirements, but also making sure it's flexible enough that councils can diverge if they want to, that they're not forced into having everything exactly as it comes out of the distribution. So so this is something that we're continuing to find as more councils come on board. Next slide. Finding 3, we need ongoing technical and product management facilitation. This has been critical in the last 10 sprints of technical development, liaising between developers from different agencies and different councils, making sure that that process is facilitated well, is key. And what's happening at the moment is as other councils come on, then actually the product management side of the facilitation is gaining pace, and having product group meetings to align, yeah, and work out where we're diverging and make sure we prioritize the right things. So facilitation of both of those product group and technical group is key to success. Next slide. Yeah, it's important that the distribution works for different types of councils. Some councils have in-house developers and some councils don't. They often hire in developers, and potentially even councils who may want to use it with very little development additional. So we're very much keeping that in mind, and we're sort of reassured to see lots of other Drupal agencies coming on board who are not directly part of the project yet, but are giving time to the project and supporting the project. So so we think this is something that yeah, is key to again the success going forward into beta. We're optimistic about the future. We've got a survey out at the moment, which is in the top left there. If you go to bit.ly/localgovcms, you can fill out the survey, and we encourage you to do so if you're part of a local government organisation. So far, only one person has suggested that they wouldn't be interested in using Local Gov Drupal, and not all of these people are using Drupal at the moment. So you know, it's a strong starting point.
Sorry, Finn.
That's right. Finding 4. Local. No, you've gone. Sorry.
That was the one that you did, so I think that was you.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. That's me then. Yeah. Back over to you, Will.
That's me trying to move this so you can see the slide, see the URL.
Thank you.
Operator error. Thanks, Finn.
Thanks a lot, Will.
So we're thinking about a beta right now. So we're just getting to the end of an alpha, as Finn said. We definitely think there's a beta here. We're getting a lot of interest about it, but what's in it? So we think right now it's these things. So there's definitely something around product and technical facilitation. You know, we need to be able to keep collaborating, keep understanding each other, keep finding common needs. And then when we found those needs, how do we architect them? How do we build them? So there's something at the centre. It's not controlling, it's helping. There's definitely something around answering requests from new councils who want to join, and I get a lot of email, and so does Finn, which is a good thing. But how do we help those councils? So the documentation for GitHub is pretty good, but there isn't a shop window as yet that says, here are the things which we really need. Also, how are we doing Q&A? How are we doing kickoff sessions? Right now, we're doing them individually with councils, which isn't a great use of anyone's time. And, we're having to rush through some of that work. So can we have them at intervals so councils can get on board, or at least look at what the distribution does? 1 and 2, points 1 and 2 obviously cost money. And, we're going to apply to CLG again and see if we can cover them, for a short period. But how do we cover them ultimately? Who pays for this ultimately? Or do we all do it for love? I don't know. We don't know the answer to that. So we need to really work through that. And what is this? Who is this? Who does this? We don't think it's individual councils. It's certainly not Croydon on its own, and it's not Brighton or the other councils that we mentioned. Is there a body at the centre, a foundation, a not-for-profit that runs this? Or is it part of another group that already exists? They run this as well as their other projects. We want to understand that better. And if anyone's got any thoughts about that, or any of this deck, please let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And that stopped working again. But yes, thank you so much for your time. The survey link that Finn mentioned is right there, bit.ly local gov CMS. You can look us up on Twitter or drop me an email. We're on Slack. And also talk to our suppliers who've worked with us, Agile Collective and DXW, who have done, continue to do amazing work. So thank you for your time.